In the misty Prodonars of February 8, 2026, Ukrainian assault teams surge forward under cover of fog, their Bradley IFVs rumbling toward Russian lines in Zaporizhia, igniting a counterattack that would reclaim villages overnight and shatter Moscow's momentum. Picture this: it's early 2026, and the war in Ukraine has dragged into its fourth brutal year. Russian forces, under Putin's relentless orders, have been grinding forward in eastern Zaporizhia Oblast, seizing small settlements along the Yanchur and Hiker rivers. Their goal? To secure jumping-off points for a massive summer offensive aimed at Arica and Zaporizhia city itself. Backed by waves of conscripts, T-90 tanks with their 125mm smoothbore, guns capable of firing armor-piercing rounds at 2,000 meters per second, and Lancet kamikaze drones that streak in at 300 kilometers per hour to eviscerate targets, the Russians have claimed over 200 square kilometers in piecemeal advances. Cracks are showing. Elon Musk's SpaceX has just blocked Russian access to Starlink terminals on February 9th. Those satellite dishes providing high-speed internet for real-time drone feeds and command links, with latency under 20 milliseconds and speeds up to 150 megabits per second, compounding the chaos. The Kremlin imposes restrictions on Telegram starting February 9th. The app Russian troops rely on for encrypted chats and battlefield coordination. Suddenly, Russian units are blind, there comes degraded, orders delayed by minutes that feel like hours in combat. Ukrainian intelligence spots the vulnerability. Russian advances slow to a crawl around February 8th. President Zelensky, facing mounting pressure from NATO allies amid stalled aid talks in Geneva where U.S. envoys push for territorial concessions to end the war, greenlights a tactical counterattack. Not a full counteroffensive like the thunderous Kharkiv push in 2022, but opportunistic strikes by elite units like the 475th Separate Assault Regiment. The stakes? If Ukraine fails, Russia consolidates, potentially dooming Zaporizhia to occupation and cutting off key supply routes. If they succeed, it humiliates Putin, boosts morale, and buys time for Western arms like the promised F-16 jets, with their AIM-120 missiles boasting 100 kilometers ranges. The plan: exploit fog for infiltration. Use FPV drones for precision hits and mechanized assaults to liberate villages along the rivers. Its high-risk Russian artillery like the two S-19 MSTA's howitzers can rain 152mm shells at 45 rounds per minute over 24 kilometers, but Ukraine's forces, hardened by years of attrition, are ready to turn the tide. February 8th, 3 o'clock hours. The fog rolls thick over the Hiker River, visibility down to 50 meters, perfect cover for Ukrainian scouts from the 475th Assault Regiment. Clad in digital camo and equipped with night vision goggles like the PVS-14, which amplify light 50,000 times. They slip across no man's land, northwest of Huliapol. Their mission: probe Russian positions near Dobrapilia, a tiny village east of the Hiker that's become a Russian foothold. Russian sentries reliant on Starlink-fed drones for overwatch are fumbling in the dark. Their Lancet 3M drones, with 40 kilometers ranges and 3 kilograms warheads, sit idle without real-time targeting data. A Ukrainian FPV drone, cheap quadcopter rigged with a 1 kilogram explosive, zipping at 100 kilometers per hour, buzzes in low, slamming into a Russian observation post. The explosion echoes like thunder, killing 3 and scattering the rest. Ukrainian infantry follows, firing a K-74M rifles with 5.45mm rounds at 600 rounds per minute, suppressing survivors. By 0400, Dobrapilia falls liberated in under an hour. The tactic here is classic combined arms: drones soften, infantry clears, all while exploiting Russian C-2 breakdowns. Politically, this initial success sends ripples. Zelensky's team leaks footage to Western media, countering Russian propaganda that claims imminent collapse of Ukrainian lines. 5 o'clock hours? Momentum builds southeast of Alexandrovka along the Yanchur River. Ukrainian Bradley M2A2 EFVs, Verican beasts, with 25mm Bushmaster chain guns firing 200 rounds per minute, and tow missiles that punch through 800 millimeters of armor at 4 kilometers advance in a wedge formation. The 475th Mechanized Column, about 20 vehicles strong, targets Alexiovka and Arestopil, villages Russian forces seized in late January with infiltration squads bypassing Ukrainian defenses. Russian troops, from the eastern grouping of forces, attempt a hasty defense with T-7 to B-3 tanks, their reactive armor designed to defeat shaped charges. But without Starlink, their fire control systems lag. A Ukrainian Javelin missile, with its top attack mode diving at 50 meters per second to hit weak turret roofs, vaporizes one T-72 in a fireball. The Bradley's thermal sights, detecting heat signatures up to 3 kilometers, pick off infantry clusters. By 0600, Alexiovka is retaken. Russian survivors retreat to kilometers east, abandoning ammo depots stocked with 122mm Grad rockets. This push humiliates Russian commanders. Gerasimov, Putin's chief of staff, downplays it in briefings, claiming repelled attacks. But milbloggers on VK rage about communications betrayal. Strategically, Ukraine's use of fog mirrors historical tactics. Like the German Ardennes, offensive in 1940 nature as an ally against tech-dependent foes. 6:08:00 hours. Dawn breaks, but the fog lingers. Ukrainian forces press north along the Hiker, targeting Ternivate and Kozovets. Here, the 141st Infantry Brigade joins, deploying M777 howitzers, 155mm towed guns with 30 kilometers. Ranges using Excalibur GPS-guided shells accurate to 4 meters. A barrage of 20 rounds hammers Russian positions in Ternivate, where a company from Russia's 58th Combined Arms Army digs in. The shell's high explosive fragments shred trenches, forcing a pullback. Supported by DJI Mavic 3 drones for recon with 15 kilometers ranges and 4K cameras, infiltrate and clear house to house. By 0900, Ternivate is liberated, flags raised, locals emerging from basements in tears. The consequence? Russian advances stall. Their intended pincer on hula pole crumbles. Politically, this exposes Putin's vulnerability. His summer offensive prep, aiming to seize Arica with 50,000 troops, is delayed as units scramble to regroup without reliable comms. February 8th, 1200 hours onward, the counterattack expands. Along the Ansha, Ukrainian forces liberate Vishnev, Yehorivka, and Zlohoda in rapid succession. Tactics shift to leapfrogging. One platoon advances under drone cover while another provides suppressive fire from Leopard 2A for tanks. Their 120mm Rheinmetall guns firing DM-63 rounds at 1,750 meters per second. Russian counter-battery fire from BM-21. Grads launching 40 rockets in 20 seconds over 20 kilometers falls short due to jammed targeting. By evening, Ribna falls, with Ukrainian troops advancing to fight for Privlin. Overnight, drones strike Russian supply lines, destroying 3 Ural trucks carrying 5.45mm ammo. Total gains, 5 kilometers pushback, 6 villages freed. The humiliation stings. Russian milbloggers blame Starlink treason, while NATO officials quietly credit Musk's block for the Ukrainian edge. Ukrainian forces consolidate, pushing into Danilivka, southeast of Oleksandrivka. Capturing to intact Orlinton drones. Russian artillery duels intensify. Ukraine's HIMARS launch M30A1 rockets with 15,000 tungsten fragments over 70 kilometers, obliterating a Russian command post near Zaloznahin. But these gains strengthen Ukraine's hand, rejecting surrender territory demands. FPV drones swarm Russian positions in Varvarivka, using fog to infiltrate and destroy a pontoon bridge over the Hiker. By afternoon, Kasivtsev and Dobropilya are fully secured, with fights ongoing for Varvarivka. Lose momentum entirely there. 200 square kilometers claims evaporate as Ukrainians reclaim 12 settlements total. February 11th to 14th. Consolidation phase. Ukrainian engineers fortify new lines with dragon's teeth barriers and minefields using RAAM scatterable mines from M777s. Drone swarms hundreds of FPVs produced daily in Ukrainian workshops. harass Russian retreats, inflicting 500 casualties per ISW estimates. Russian attempts to counter with FAB-500 glide bombs, 500 kilograms explosives guided by UMPK kits over 60 kilometers missed due to poor intel. By February 14th, the front stabilizes. Ukrainians hold a 9.5 kilometers buffer. Villages like Beruzov and Turnov flying blue and yellow flags. Politically, Putin rages in Moscow, rejecting peace overtures while prepping reserves. But the counterattack exposes flaws. Russia's over-reliance on Western tech like Starlink, now denied, and internal dissent over Telegram bans. February 15th onward, Ukrainian forces probe further, fighting for Privlin and Varvaruvka. Russian eastern grouping repels some, but at high costs, losing 1,000 troops and 20 vehicles per Ukrainian claims. Strategies evolve. Ukraine integrates AI-targeted drones, reducing response time to 2 minutes from spotting to strike. Consequences ripple. Delayed Russian summer offensive hinders Putin's buffer zone aims in Kherson and Kharkov. Globally, it reignites aid debates. Biden pushes Congress for $60 billion, citing these humiliating Russian setbacks. This daring counterattack in Zaporizhia isn't just a tactical win, it's a psychological blow to the Kremlin, proving Ukraine's resilience amid betrayal narratives and stalled talks. Villages liberated overnight, Russian forces humiliated and pushed back kilometers. It's a thriller unfolding in real time. But the war grinds on. What do you think will happen next? Will Russia regroup for a vicious reprisal, or will this spark a broader Ukrainian push? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Smash that like button if you're Team Ukraine, and subscribe for more breakdowns on the front lines. Stay vigilant, folks, the fight's far from over.